Hello, Rise Builders. So, you see the topic. So, we're going to talk about this. And this is not to push anyone away from making a purchase. If it's something that you want, definitely, make that purchase. But this is just to make you think about it before you make the purchase. Because just because you can afford it doesn't mean you have to buy it. That's true. Just because you can afford it doesn't mean you have to buy it. you know, I know let me just speak. I know I can talk myself into some stuff. I'll say, oh, you deserve it. You deserve it. Treat yourself. You've worked X amount of years on your job. You've worked so hard. You've been so diligent. I go through this whole thing of pumping myself up, But I've noticed as I've gotten older, I would like to say wiser, that I'm not a impulse buyer any longer. I wait. I give myself 3 days or longer before I make a purchase, especially if it's a expensive purchase. And to me, expensive mean anything over $500. So yeah, I'm gonna really be counting my coins. Is this something that I really need, or is this something that I'm gonna treat myself? Of course, we should be treating ourselves, but I have learned to treat myself with little small things. I don't have to have big things. I think you guys heard me talk about I'm big on nail polish. I'll go do nail polish. I'll treat myself to a massage at the massage school. I'm frugal, y'all. You know, um, and I think a lot of that has to be around the fact that I know I'm going to be retiring, soon. So I am trying to count every dollar. I'm trying to save as much as I can. But at the same time, I need to find balance where I can still enjoy, because I got a girlfriend who loves to remind me, girl, if God calls you home, they're going to spend your money. So you might as well enjoy it. But I still have to find a balance with that, still find a balance with that. So again, the issue isn't whether we can afford it or not. That's not the issue. Is, are we being responsible? Are we being responsible? Not trying to restrict yourself from making a purchase, but are you being a good steward over the money that God has provided for you? Because a lot of times we're constantly praying, God, open up the windows, pour out a blessing to me. God, give me more, more, more. When He has made a way for us, He has provided for us, but sometimes we are not good stewards over what we have. So we're just going to talk a little bit about that. Is that okay? Is that okay? So, what motivates your spending habits? Needs, emotions, status, or purpose? Do you really need it? We need food. We need shelter. Those are our necessities. But are you making a purchase because you're feeling really emotional that day? You're feeling sad or down, or you just got a bonus and you're like, I'm gonna spend these coins. It's in your hand and it's just burning, burning, burning. I got to spend it. I just been rewarded with this. I got to spend it. What about status? You're trying to be part of the Joneses. You want to have a certain item or whatever. And don't get me wrong, I like nice things. I do. I do. I like nice things. But I have to keep myself in check as well. Or, am I making this purchase because of purpose? What is the purchase all about? So we need to kind of stop. Um, have you ever bought something just because you could, only to regret it later? Only to regret it later. I told a story about last year before last, where I went on the car lot without my husband. And that was my first time, I believe. Yeah, that was my first time. We're always together when we make purchases like that. But I was out shopping. I had been shopping for a car for some time. This was year before last. And he and I had been shopping, and for whatever reason, I pulled over at the Lexus car lot. And this car was on the showroom floor, and it was saying D, 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 D. And you know, as soon as you let them pull that car out the showroom floor and give you the keys, it's over, baby. So I took the car and I drove it home. The car sales lady was in the car with me, drove it home, pulled up in the driveway. And yeah, called my husband outside to look at it. He was like, "Oh, babe, this is really nice." Da 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 da. And he was like, "How much is it?" He was in the back looking at had to open up the trunk and stuff. He was looking at it. And I told him how much it was. He told the car sales lady, he was like, "Hey, it's nice to meet you." He went back in the house and he closed the door. I was like, OMG, no, he did not. Yeah, he closed the door. But I was so glad when I look back at it. I did make a purchase, not that day, later. I did make a purchase, but that really saved me a lot of money, that he was there, to kind of guide me. Like, don't make that purchase that, you're going to regret that price for that car. Yeah, so, can overspending become a spiritual issue? Can overspending become a spiritual issue? Is that, the same money that you're spending, could you bless somebody? Could you put it into the kingdom of God? Is there something happening at your church where you're fed that you could bless the church with that? So those are things to think about. People in your neighborhood, family members who might need something. And we're just spending on us. We're just thinking about us. Are we thinking about others? I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Well, that is what I'm trying to say. So here, pause before you purchase. You want to create a 24-hour or 72-hour rule for non-essential purchases. Wait, you don't have to make that purchase. You don't have to make that purchase. If it's for you, it's still going to be there. Wait a few days. It says 24 hours, but I go a few days. Ask key questions. Ask some questions. Do I need it? Do I want it? Will this matter in 6 months? I can tell you, I can go look in my closet and I have stuff that I have not touched that still has tags. And I am consistently, giving things away, getting items away because I'm like, I need to rid myself of this stuff. And one thing I will say, if I make a purchase, let's say for instance, a handbag, if I make a handbag purchase or even some shoes, if I buy 2 pairs of shoes, I'm going to give 4 pair away, 2 to 4 pairs away. If I purchase a handbag, I need to be giving a handbag away. I need to. Yeah. Budget with a vision, set financial goals tied to purpose, being debt free, giving, invest. I've been learning more and more about investments. I have a 401k through my job, but, I opened my own personal account so that I could learn more about money matters and investing and, so far and so on. Things that I wish I had known about in my 20s, really understood it because now here I am at retirement and I'm like, my Lord. So, just being mindful about those things. Pray before you pay. Pray before you pay. Invite God into your financial decisions, no matter how small. Because we can have a lot of small things around the house that doesn't matter, so it matters, and it matters to God. Seek Him for everything. So I want to read over a couple of supporting scriptures before we end this. Proverbs 21:20, the NIV reads, "The wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down." Yeah. 1 Corinthians 10:23 NIV, "I have the right to do anything you say, but not everything is beneficial. I have the right to do anything, but not everything is constructive." So you have the right to make that purchase. You do. You have the right. But is it beneficial? Is it going to be constructive to you? Or is it just going to be added to your your area of just to show off, the showcase. It's just going to be added to your showcase. And again, this is not to make anyone feel guilty or anything like that. It's just we need to put things in perspective. Do I need this? How many bags do I need? How many colors do I need? Am I going to switch them out? When I was younger, I would switch my bags out like every other day, every other day. Now I'm older. I like a really nice bag, but I don't need to switch it out every day. If I'm going to church, I might switch it out if I'm going somewhere, but for the most part, I carry the same old bag. And the crazy part is it's not always the expensive bags, it's the cheap bags. It's the little cheap bags. I'm gonna grab this real quick. I had this bag in my closet forever in a day. I had this bag in my closet forever in a day. This isn't an expensive bag at all, but I just like the fact that I don't know why I got that there. But yeah, it's easy. I love a bag with feet on them. But it's not an expensive bag at all. I think when I bought this bag, it was like $20. And I went online because I wanted a silver one. And I think they're going for $30 now. And I bought this maybe about 4 years ago. But yeah, I can't find a silver one. But it's not the expensive bags that I'm really, carrying, but yeah. Luke 14:28. But don't begin until you count the cost. Don't begin until you count the cost. I love that. Count the cost before you spend your hard-earned money. This is not out of fear, but we see what's happening in the economy. So we need to make sure that we have a emergency savings. So if you're going to go make a purchase for $1,500, make sure you have $1,500 in your emergency savings. If you're going to make a purchase for $800, make sure you have those $800 in your emergency, savings. We got to be accountable. We got to be accountable. So just remember, financial freedom isn't about how much you earn. It's about how you wisely manage your money. God calls us to be faithful over our money. He really does. And He wants the best for us. And I want the best for you. I want the best for me. So count the cost. Count the cost. All right, guys. Until next time, continue to grow and glow in the Lord.